Morning, morning, everyone. Wish I was more positive, but it all comes down to growing up as a child. That's the foundation. And I keep trying to be happy, but I can't. Is anyone truly happy out there? Or is everyone just lying? But I guess, like Sade said, I'm the king of sorrow. You know that Sade song? So I guess that's what I am. But it sucks, because I felt sad my whole life since a kid, since I started getting abused, and then, since my dad left, and then started getting abused heavily, and then my sister died, Amanda, and then um, my uncle, one of my uncles died, Uncle Sammy, and and then everything kind of washed over and was okay when I was in the cult. You know what I mean? All that stuff from a childhood experiences I put under the rug. You know what I mean? Everything was cherry when I was in that cult. Master Path, Sri Gary Olson. I know why people are into it. I know it's real. Um, there's even a lot of people coming out right now saying that meditation will cause insomnia and all kinds of shit. There's a lot of podcasters saying that not to meditate, because it's bad for you. I don't really know what is good or bad. I guess it's just life, right? But as you can see, I don't sleep a lot, and it's not due to any drugs. You know what I mean? I used to stay up when I drink a lot of alcohol, but I'm just on the mushrooms and the cannabis right now. And I've been meditating a lot, and I really hope that God is real. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be happy. But yeah, everything was kosher when I was in that cult with my mom. It was amazing. And there's so many friends I had over there, so many beautiful women. And that's why I didn't go there, but there were so many beautiful women there, and, you know, um, but, you know, I'm up and down, you know what I mean? It was working pretty good with the mushrooms for a while, but then I went back down. I'm just up and down. If, if anyone can give some advice, I'm all ears, but let me read the comments here. Oh, I'm on the speaker. Nice. Oh, Jehovah Witness. Yeah, Jehovah Witness. It's similar to Master Path. A lot of these guys, they whitewash. You know what I mean? Which cult? Oh, the Democrat Party. Yeah, Republican, Democrat, all kinds of cults, right? But, when I called the Master Path office and the lady picked up, the secretary, and she goes, "How did you get this number?" And I said, "Come on now. You haven't heard of Google? All your tax exempt information and phone number is open to the public." You know what I mean? And I'll never forget that she told me, how much would she's trying to convince me to stay in the cult. Isn't it worth it just to be happy? You know what I mean? And that's crazy. I don't know. But I don't know now. Is it worth it to be happy? Should I go back to drinking alcohol? Is it worth it to be happy sometimes? I wasn't always happy in the cult either, right? But I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm up and down. But I know I talk too much. I hope everyone's having a great fucking morning, but I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do anymore. I need to take a break from the dabs, so I can reset my tolerance. That would help a lot. But can't go back to drinking alcohol, because alcohol is actually worse than death, I think. Because I was basically on the verge of dying all the fucking time, you know what I mean? Bad breathing problems, horrible fucking sleep, but my esophagus was so inflamed that, yeah, the pain was excruciating. It was like needles and pins, and I couldn't breathe, so just being able to breathe, I try and be thankful for that. A deep breath, you know what I mean? You can take a little breath, but a deep breath where that's the breath of life. So, but I don't know what to do anymore, man. So I'm talking to YouTube because I'm losing my damn mind. I was getting a little too far out with the shrooms there too. You got to be careful with psychedelics. You can lose touch with the current reality, and if you don't have, what I was found out, if I don't have a strong second reality to take its place, then, it's very disassociative. And I felt like I didn't even exist. I made that video that I've transcended this plane of existential existence. I started kind of similar to alcohol, but alcohol is way more dead, But I started, just doubting my reality. Just, I was trying to remember, um, uh, even though I'm, I hate my dad. I'll say it. I mean, I hate my dad. He didn't give a fuck about me. But I was trying to remember things that he said, for the good times, and maybe even the bad, but just to keep it alive, just to keep the reality, so to speak, alive. I mean, what is reality? But this existence right now, right? So, I mean, just being so disassociative where you don't even feel like you exist, where, I know this is bad, but, I'm driving to the post office on the dirt road, and I don't think anything's real. You know what I mean? I don't think anything's real. Um, and I don't want to get too far out of touch like that, because I know that my dogs are real. You know what I mean? And I know that um, I don't think love is blind, but there is something there that's pure, right? Without the perversions, you know what I mean? Without the just like a child, like a puppy. They just want to hang out and play. Um, and they'll even be happy if you didn't even give them food and water. I mean, you can just give them a hug, and it's amazing. But just that simplicity, you know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't want to get too detached from life because I felt like I was underwater. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Shy, over at one of the head shops in Santa Fe, and she said, "Oh yeah, I had experience like that on acid once, and I felt like I was underwater. The plants were underwater. I was underwater with the plants and shit. So that's another reason why I'll never do datura or Jimson weed because that's actually a deliriant, more closer to alcohol, but you'll be climbing up the walls and you won't remember what you did. At least on mushrooms, you know what you're doing. You can, at least I do. I can remember everything. I don't black out. Same with cannabis. I don't black out. I remember everything. But it's very intense. And like I said, you can lose touch with reality, but fuck, fuck no on Datura. I'm not going to be climbing up the walls. And, you know, I blacked out a couple times when I used to drink alcohol. And that scared the shit out of me how I couldn't even remember what I did throughout the day, or if I even just pulled in my truck at night instead of leaving it. I should have pulled it into the garage, but one time I pulled it into the garage and I left the doors open and I left it running all fucking night and it almost ran out of gas and I didn't even remember it. And pure panic, because it's basically alcohol is a little different than datura or Jimson weed because it actually it kills your brain cells. So it's actually wiping out everything. Datura will place you in a different reality, where you're Spider-Man, but you don't know you're Spider-Man, and you basically black out and you're climbing the walls. But anyway, oh yeah, I'm reading the chat here. Hold on. Oh, that's crazy. You were in prison? Yeah. Well, if it works and it's not hurting anyone, I guess more power to you. Check out my sword. What do you guys think, huh? Handmade. This thing's powerful. It's actually kind of heavy. It's not for show. It's actually functional. It's actually kind of heavy. Huh? I took a few swings. But it's a challenge to use with one arm. It does require some forearm strength. Beautifully handmade, though. No, I appreciate that, brother. I'm trying. I'm trying. I think this will help. It does take some yeah. Beautiful. Handmade. Like I said, it's got a good amount of weight on it because it's actually functional. It's not for show, you know, and it's all wooden. And I always wanted one of these, so money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys happiness for a moment. Just like everything else, it's all temporary. It's all temporary. It's all just borrowed. It's all just guesswork. But I bet, I bet that empathy and compassion and just like that basic instinct of you know, a baby right out of the womb or a little puppy, you know, there's that simplicity and innocence, and there's no perversions. Um, that's the truth. So I guess that's something, you know. I never thought that I would know what exactly what truth is, but I know that that small part is truth. But the rest of it, it's a fucking train wreck. It's a train wreck. You know what I mean? But anyway, thanks for listening. Got the Zia symbol, New Mexico. Appreciate everyone. God bless.